there is one thing you have to do that you might not have done yet in order to get sponsors, and it is very easy, and I will tell you. Hey friends, I recently got a question on a video I did. How do you get sponsors? I just got monetized, still needing about 350 watch hours, even though I'm at 2,100 subscribers. Slow and steady suits me fine. Well, weird princess, that's a great question. And in today's episode, I will go into that. I got sponsors way before I thought I would. It happened very soon. I was completely shocked. Because when I first started YouTubing, I thought sponsors were out of reach for small channels. I was so wrong. They showed up a lot sooner than I thought they would. So in this video, I'll talk about how to get sponsors ASAP. So in the world of sponsors, there are basically two ways to end up with a sponsorship. The first way is getting found. So fun way to think about this. I remember growing up, there were all these stories about people that went on to be models, and they were discovered while they were out at the mall in the food court with their friends. Some agent walked up and was like, "Hey, I like your look, come and model for us." That's basically the same thing. Being found by a YouTube sponsor is very similar. You're just posting videos, running your channel, and you get contacted by a sponsor who's like, "Hey, would you like to do a sponsorship for us?" Sometimes they'll say, "Do you want to do a collaboration with us?" That's more of a classical term of talking about two channels working together. When a company's coming to you to promote your product and they say, "Hey, you want to collaborate?" They're talking about sponsorships usually. So you might be saying to yourself, well, how the heck do they find you? How do they reach out? How does that work? Well, you get on the radar by posting videos, by getting views. These companies also have a lot of sophisticated software, social media management software, where they will run analyses and see what kind of influencers are coming up at different times. And some of these brands will reach out to very small channels. But there is one thing you have to do that you might not have done yet in order to get sponsors, and it is very easy, and I will tell you. It is very easy. Although it's easy to screw up, so you need to be careful about that. And that is adding your email to your YouTube page. Let's take a look, shall we? And the easiest way to do this is to go to studio.youtube.com. And what you do is along the left side, there are a bunch of icons. There's one that says customization. You go to channel customization tab. And then if you look, you scroll all the way down. So mine has, the banner image, the picture, name, handle, all that good stuff. Scroll all the way down, and right near the bottom, just above where it has the video watermark, there's a section that says contact info. And it says, let people know how to contact you with business inquiries. The email address you enter may appear in the about section of your channel and be visible to viewers. That is where you put your email address. Now, it's pretty simple. If you do that and you manage to get onto these companies' radar, then you will get emails from them. Now, there are a few things to keep in mind when you do this that I wanted to talk about really briefly. The first is to make whatever email you use sound professional. I would recommend coming up with a brand new email for your channel. And as an extra security measure, it's good to make it different than whatever email you're using for AdSense if you're monetized. That way, if anybody wants to get up and try to hack into your AdSense, they at least don't have your email address, your username. Something professional. It could even be, your channel name, sponsor@gmail.com. You don't have to get too fancy with it, just make it professional and have it set up and you're good to go. That's basically all you need to get found, is a place for them to email you about it. Now, how do you increase the odds of being discovered? That's the next question, because that makes it possible for people to reach out to you. Well, the first thing you can do is to grow. I've noticed that a lot of times I get sponsorship outreaches when I've recently had a hit video, when something's really taken off. It's not a coincidence. Everything you work on to growing will help you get seen more. But another thing to keep in mind is to be sponsor friendly. So what does that mean, being sponsor friendly? Well, that means making sure that you follow YouTube's content, community, and monetization guidelines as best as you can. So here's the thing. There are sponsors who will work with channels that are out there and are doing whatever, and that's great. But there are also sponsors that won't. And if you're trying to increase your odds, you want as broad of a pool of sponsors willing to work with you as possible. So it's good not to diminish that pool or shrink it down by being too profane or shocking or anything that would be something sponsors don't want to be associated with. I mean, you can do that, and I'm not the boss of you. I'm barely the boss of me, but just bear in mind that if you do those sorts of things, it will limit your sponsorship pool. There will still probably be people who want to work with you though. And then probably the third piece, and one of the most meaningful variables, is what niche your channel is in. Gosh, niche selection is such a tricky thing, and I can do an episode on how to select a niche, some hot niches. If you're interested, let me know below. But when it comes to sponsorships, when it comes to AdSense rates, it really matters. It really matters what niche you're in. Here's the thing. I have 2 monetized channels now. The one that I'm talking to you on right now, Paige Turner, the one for content creators, and Our Moving Castle, my first channel that I had started with my husband, where we travel around in our RV. And I'll tell you, they have been night and day as far as how they function. I had sponsors banging down my door starting about 300 subscribers over on Our Moving Castle. And I was as passive as could be. I was just posting videos. They were doing pretty well, but nothing to write home about. And I had sponsors all over the place. My AdSense rates are also higher on RV than they are over here, where I do mostly content creation work. And the reality is that's because advertisers are willing to pay more to be placed next to RV videos, RV and travel. And it makes sense. If you think about what RVing is, it's a hobby, it's not cheap. Well, it can be, but the way a lot of people do it isn't cheap. And there are a lot of products to sell and a lot of easy add-ons for RVing. So it makes sense that companies would pay a premium to be next to RV content. Where you look at something like content creation, there are some tools that are monetized for content creation. There are some products, but it's not to the same degree. And frankly, a lot of what we can do here is free or cheap. A lot of the advice that I give is pretty easy to follow. So I get it, you know, it's not going to command the same rates. I have been approached by sponsors on both channels, just more frequently on the RV channel, and the offers have been better. It doesn't happen as much on Paige Turner, and it hasn't really been any company I've been wanting to work with. I haven't even really considered it. So, you know, bear that in mind. There's an element of niche here too. So don't be too hard on yourself if you're finding that's the case. I'm comparing me to me here, and I'm getting completely different results. So don't compare yourselves to other people and feel like if you come up short, it means you're automatically in a bad place, because like I said, I'm losing the competition of me versus me. Okay, so that's getting discovered by sponsors, having sponsors reach out. The second way to get sponsors is to pitch them yourself. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, the first thing you need to do is figure out who you want to approach, what kind of company. And when it comes to this, there are a couple of ways to look at this. One easy way is if you're watching a lot of YouTube, and I argue that if you're trying to do a YouTube channel, you should be. Not just your niche, but other niches. You can learn so much from other YouTubers, and it is a great learning community in general and excellent entertainment. But I digress. If you're watching other YouTubers, like you should be, you will notice sponsorship spots. You will see certain companies tend to sponsor YouTubers with some regularity. And really simply, you can write down some of these companies as you're watching these videos. If you identify ones that you think you'd like to work with, and then you can go with your list of companies, look up their info online. It's very easy to Google this information. And these companies typically have contact us forms or even specific pages devoted to influencers. You can go through there and apply. But you don't have to limit it to people that are doing YouTube spots already with other channels. You can also, if you have a company you like a lot and you would like to do a sponsored promotion for, you can write to them yourself. So when you do this, it's also important how you do this. You have to know how to pitch. I could go over this in a more detailed way on how to pitch. I've pitched a lot in my day. I used to work as a freelance writer. I've had people pitch to me. I've had good pitches pitched to me and bad pitches pitched to me. I have strong opinions on pitches. Let me know if you're interested in another episode specifically on that, but just to be brief about it, basically the first thing you do is you introduce yourself. You're like, hi, I'm Paige. I run the small YouTube channel, Paige Turner, where we do XYZ. And then what you do at that point is you use stats in a flattering way, flattering to yourself, usually as part of your introduction. So in my book of business right now, I have a niche brand that has nothing to do with YouTube, nothing to do with this channel, completely different topic altogether. And I get 8 million impressions a month on Facebook because of this brand. So sometimes when I would be writing to people and pitching for my freelance writing or for various sponsorship, paid jobs, what have you, I would say I get 8 million impressions a month on Facebook. So they would know my reach. That was a really good stat. I think I had, 200,000 followers at that point on that brand. It's like 250,000 now. So like 200,000 followers, 8 million impressions. whatever. I would lead with those stats in a good and flattering way, being like, hey, I can get you this reach, I can do this. So on your channel, you might find that maybe your views aren't huge, maybe your subs aren't huge, but you have a stat that shows how very engaged your followers are. If you have conversion rates on other opportunities, like if you have an affiliate account and your affiliate links are converting at like a 5% rate, which is ginormous, it doesn't necessarily matter if it's a small account, if it's converting at that rate. You see what I'm saying? Like, you find something that's flattering to you if you have flattering stats. If not, don't worry about it. Just be like, you know, I have this, it's a small but devoted following and we're growing. Kind of focus on we're growing, that sort of thing. You basically introduce yourself briefly, what you do, something flattering about yourself. Don't go on and on. If you got big stats, say them quickly, get out the way. If you don't, say something about your vision or where you're going, but keep it very, very brief. Like, this is like a sentence about stats, and it should be focused on what you can get the sponsor and not on tooting your own horn. I mean, you're tooting your own horn, but you want to do it in a way that's sponsor focused. And then at that point, you talk about your connection with their company, their brand, any experiences you've had with them in any way, even if it's not you, if you have a friend. So I don't want this to be a sponsored video, but I used one of the many paid learning platforms back in the day, and I liked it very much. And so I would say, hey, I have been using this, I've learned it myself. And you could say, well, I would love to do a video about your product and how it's underutilized and things like that. Come up with a whole idea of how you could work with them. Not terribly detailed, but just a quick, long and short. I mean, I probably might even go say how long it could be, and then I would sort of ask them, would this be something that you're willing to pay me for? What do you think? Could we work together? Could we collaborate on a sponsored video? And then kind of put it out there. Like, the thing is that once you've done this a few times, it's really, really quick. This is like a 30-second thing. You just type it up real fast and just send it out. It doesn't have to be crazy long, and you'll be better at pitching and thinking of these things as you go. And here's the thing. This has a much lower success rate than when the sponsor reaches out to you when you're discovered, which makes sense, right? Because they've identified you as an opportunity. You know, it's kind of yours to reject or accept. You're putting yourself out there. And the other thing to keep in mind is that these companies have budgets for influencer outreach. You might be in a terrible cycle. They might not have the budget right now for it. They might have already spent it. Sometimes I found that you could do something like this, and then later on, if you pitch well and you're appropriate about it, you get put on a list and then you get in the next pass. So it's something you can try. It builds your skills for pitching, which are good regardless of what you're doing. Like I said, being able to pitch is really good. It's a really good skill to have. You know, like I said, I've used it in creative work. It's good for collabs with other YouTubers even. The way that you structure and things like that, it's very similar. You know, introducing yourself quickly, showing you understand, making an offer that's exciting for them, showing what you can do for them, and showing familiarity with the brand. Because I tell you, there's so many bad pitches where people don't even know what I do or what I'm about, and you can tell. Like, it's like, oh, gosh. So it's good practice, and sometimes it does work. Anyway, that's how to get sponsors even if you're a small channel. I will say I have gotten plenty of sponsorship outreaches. I have only had one that I was seriously working on. We got this product for the RV. I'm gonna be very vague because I don't want the company to come after me, but we got it, we were trying it out, and we absolutely hated it. And we had filmed everything where we didn't like the product. We reached back out to them and said, hey, so we didn't like it. Do you still want us to do the review? And they're like, no, don't. So I have been very choosy with it. Sponsors can reach out. Whether or not you pursue it really depends on what you're comfortable with. I've been very choosy. I have not pursued every sponsor. I've probably gotten 30 different sponsorship outreaches between my two brands. I would say 25 on the RV channel and 5 on this channel. And only the one for the RV channel ever proceeded to that stage where I was really interested, where it was something I was excited about, I wanted to try. And that one fell apart. So I think it's good to be choosy and to be thoughtful about it. That said, I'm definitely open to it, and I'm sure I will do some in the future, but I think it's also good to be careful about who you work with and make sure that you find a fit that's good for you. So yeah, excellent question. Thank you for asking it. Some of my best episodes have been because of your wonderful questions, and I really appreciate them, and I appreciate you. It's been great talking to you as always. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.